That is amazing. Give me one above and one through.
Hello.
Is it actually creates a dampening force? Carbon fiber, nice high-tech stuff.
Hey Slingers, it's Matthew from Sling Pilot Academy. I am super excited for this week's video. If you've been following our content, you know that just last week we were at the Capitol building in Sacramento with our brand new Sling Whisper plane that I have right behind me. A lot of people were asking, why did you guys do it? What did you even change? So that's exactly what this video is going to address. We sit down with Jean and Matt and they cover why we made all the changes we did and what they are. Stay tuned and enjoy.
Hi guys, I'm Matt.
I'm Jean,
And we're here to talk about the making of the Whisper Sling.
the super silent aeroplane.
We started as a flight school using the Sling NGT as our primary trainer, which is already a quieter airplane than most general aviation flight training machines. Our Rotax engines already are some of the most eco-friendly, low carbon footprint engines around there. We burn 3.5 gallons an hour of unleaded gasoline. So we already started off as being pretty quiet and pretty environmentally friendly. Quiet airplanes burning unleaded gas, what could possibly go wrong? Enter the pilot shortage and COVID. So just as the severe pilot shortage kicked into high gear and there was an increase in flight training all across the country in the early 2020s, so COVID arrived on the scene. And for the first time we had residents being at home all day long, and some of them realizing for the first time that they live close to a small airport with general aviation flight activity going on.
So yeah, we were all these people sitting at home and suddenly hearing the noise that had been there for a long time. They became very vocal. So we had to do something. We listened to the people, and here we are now making an aeroplane that is quieter than any other aeroplane ever built.
So as residents around lots of general aviation airports around the country started to make more and more complaints, just like around our airport, they started to approach the city councils of different cities. And at that time, we just defended our airplane as already the quietest flight training airplane at the airport, already the most environmentally friendly airplane at the airport. We defended it. We already bust no noise monitors. We never exceed any noise limits. And we're doing the best for our environment. So we thought that we had it covered. So more and more we began to hear that even though our airplanes are the quietest airplanes at the field, the amount of operations we were doing was causing an annoyance. And we also started to recognize that annoyance is not just objective decibel levels. Annoyance is the subjective tone of a sound and how it affects the human ear. Our city, the city of Torrance, formed a working group between airplane operators, flight schools, the city, and some FAA involvement to try to workshop this problem and try to find solutions. And that was very effective. Those meetings resulted in voluntary noise abatement procedures, where at our airport here in Torrance, we voluntarily gave up one of the traffic patterns at our airport. So we voluntarily gave up 50% of our operations, and the residents were grateful for this. It was something that we did voluntarily, but it was something that had a noticeable and measurable effect. And it worked. Around this time, the city started developing a draft voluntary letter of agreement, which was supposed to be a letter of agreement between the flight schools, the city, and the FAA. And this is beyond the voluntary noise abatement procedures. And in this letter of agreement, they included language that proposed that we do as much of our flight training at other airports as we possibly could. We have the solutions here. We have the quietest airplane on the field. We use unleaded gasoline already, primarily unleaded gasoline. We have voluntary noise abatement procedures, and we are working on a voluntary letter of agreement with the city that proposes that we do most of our flight training somewhere else. So, problem solved, right?
No, we needed a new solution.
So the residents are still not satisfied with the airplane noise around the airport. A lot of pilots are still not aware of the voluntary procedures that we've committed to. And most airports across the region are suffering similar problems as we have in Torrance. And around about this time, we start to participate in noise abatement meetings at the city of Long Beach, our nearest airport. And we discover that they're having exactly the same problems. And guess what? Most of the offenders at Long Beach are from Torrance, and we already know that most of the offenders who don't follow the voluntary agreements at Torrance are from Long Beach. We start to recognize the regionality of this problem. We start to really recognize that although our airplanes are quieter in objective decibels than any other flight training airplanes, that the tone of our airplanes actually annoys some of the residents more than some of the airplanes that produce a louder decibel tone. We start to come to several conclusions about this airplane noise issue. Conclusion number one, this issue is regional. We need to approach it regionally. It is clear that we cannot fight this issue airport by airport, and it is not a solution for each airport to just try to export their noise to every other nearby airport. And we need to educate all pilots about all the airports in the region, not just their own airport. And then of course we need to educate the residents about the importance of general aviation and flight training to our civilization. And we use the word civilization poignantly because aviation and our civilization are very connected. Conclusion number two, listen to the community. Develop voluntary fly-friendly procedures. We are beyond arguing that you move near an airport, what did you expect? That's an argument that a lot of pilots try to make with residents, and we are beyond that. Talking to the community can help identify the real pain points, and developing voluntary fly-friendly procedures in excess of the existing procedures can help alleviate some of the pressure. And when pilots and operators of flight schools and other flight operations ignore and dismiss resident complaints, the residents then take the complaints to city council, and they normally go carrying pitchforks. And all of this has to go hand in hand with education, since it's important that the residents learn about why airplanes are flying over their houses and what the purpose of all of our aviation activity is. Conclusion number three, pilot education. To make it easier for pilots to find noise abatement and fly-friendly materials for airports in the region, a group of operators started Fly Friendly SoCal, which is a website that makes it easy for pilots in our region here in Southern California to find fly-friendly and noise abatement procedures just with one click. Normally, pilots have to Google an airport and search for procedures, and it takes a little bit of time to find the information. It's not readily available or accessible to a pilot without a lot of searching. And certainly the information that's included in the AFD about noise is not really sufficient or doesn't really describe the problem in enough detail. So part of this Fly-Friendly SoCal effort invites pilots and operators to sign in and make the pledge. And the pledge that they make is to learn about the fly-friendly procedures at their airport and learn about the fly-friendly procedures at all the other airports that they go to, so that they're not just simply exporting their problem out of ignorance. And then of course helping to teach pilots from those airports about the voluntary fly-friendly procedures at our airport. Conclusion number four, resident education. A really important part of this is making sure that the residents understand what we are doing. And flight training numbers are up right now, but if you zoom out, aviation has been in a steady decline in terms of number of operations for 20, 30 years. And only in the recent 4 or 5 years has there been an uptick. And this is cyclical. This level of flight training activity responds to the supply and demand of pilots for the airlines and for the regional airlines. And so just helping people understand that these fluctuations are a part of the supply and demand to create pilots. And also in terms of resident education, letting the people around airports understand that flight training is part of our critical infrastructure. Kaiser has identified flight training as a part of our critical infrastructure, and it's important to know, without flight training, there are no new pilots created, and without flight training, every single existing pilot loses their pilot privileges in a matter of months. So without flight training, we have no air transportation, no visiting relatives for the holidays, no air freight, no next day delivery, no medical evacuation, no disaster relief, and no organ delivery. So if we're happy to live in a society without all of that, we could give up flight training. But if we need all of that in our civilization, flight training is critical to that. We need to let people know about the criticality of our facet of aviation, and also let people know that flight instructors are actually designated as essential workers, similar to nurses and doctors. And we were able to continue operating through COVID because of flight training's essential worker status. Conclusion number 5, the new Whisper model of our airplane. Since early 2023, we have been actively engaged in a research and development program to make our airplanes even quieter than they already are. The program has focused on making the sound more pleasing to the human ear by decreasing the pitch and muffling the sound and kind of smoothing it out. We're going for a low hum, which would be considered a soothing tone. Other tones are not so soothing, like a mosquito is an annoying tone. And this is all out of the realization that sound annoyance is a subjective thing, and understanding what kinds of sounds are annoying and aggravating, and trying to mitigate those kind of sound qualities from our airplane. So we looked at modifications to our engine compartment, exhaust muffler, and propeller. And of course, we're lucky. Our airplanes are ASTM certified, so to speak, so we don't require FAA certification for these modifications. Most flight schools would have much bigger hurdles to cross to try to make modifications like we have been able to achieve. So in this acoustic research and development program, we focused on 3 areas of improvement. With our recognition that the annoyance is subjective, we did hundreds of tests using our human ear as our primary testing instrument.
As Matt said, there were 3 areas that we needed to cover, and of course you would think the exhaust would be the loudest source of noise. So the first thing we did is we started getting silencers onto the tailpipe. And we started with short ones, and that had some effect, but it was nothing to write home about or to even start getting excited about. Matt, I think, found the Swiss silencer, and just interestingly, in Switzerland, they started grounding a lot of general aviation airplanes because of the noise. And so the Swiss got kind of creative, and they made what's now known as the Swiss silencer. It's a long, perforated pipe that is packed and wrapped, and it absorbs the sound. So we started off and we did hundreds of tests, hundreds of flights, and we eventually ended up with a long silencer that gets added to the tailpipe of the existing engine, and that silenced the engine, the exhaust noise, down to a very low noise. I mean, if you stand next to the airplane, you actually can't hear the exhaust noise. It's really phenomenal. That is amazing. Go that side.
Huh?
Go, give me one above and one through.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
I'm not sure how it's going to record, but that's amazing. So this is it. This is a Swiss silencer, which has now become an American silencer. But it's a perforated tube inside there, wrapped in steel wool and fiberglass. And there's a few tricky things with the actual perforated tube that help. But that's what's added onto the existing silencer. It could go onto any aeroplane really, it would be effective. And that's why, where we said earlier, we want to make sure this isn't just a sling solution. We're doing it easily, we're going to do it for ourselves, we're going to refine it, and it's going to be fantastic. And we'd like to share this technology with anyone and probably get STCs with certified aircraft and get all exhaust noises right down and have a whole bunch of whispering airplanes. So that's that. This is the upswept tube. Takes the noise straight up. If you blast, the original pipe used to go down, that's blasting it straight onto the houses. So just this upsweep makes a difference, but it really is effective at silencing the exhaust sound.
Some of the things we had to consider were when you go for a longer and longer pipe like this, a silencer, it increases the exhaust back pressure back into the engine. And so we had to in our R&D process, we had to measure the back pressure that was produced by this exhaust to make sure that it didn't exceed the factory limits for back pressure. And so this exhaust fits right into the window that we need it to be in. So not an excessive increase in back pressure. We have options if we needed to reduce the back pressure, but we ended up okay. And part of the idea with this is if you're trying to get sound to bounce around until it's all dissipated, length is one of the main tools that you have to dissipate as much sound as possible. One of the other tools you have if you don't have the length is to change the direction of the airflow with a shorter exhaust that has the airflow changing, the exhaust flow changing direction inside it. But that normally has a big back pressure penalty. So a long pipe was the solution for us.
It wasn't enough, and Matt said, what's next? And again, Matt had done some research with the acoustic effect of the thin cowling. It's a little bit like a guitar, amplifies the sound of the strings, and we got some really high quality, top grade acoustic barrier that we put on the inside of the cowling. It's about 1/4 inch thick, and a foam and aluminum covering. And I don't know if we're giving away all our secrets here, but we want to make aviation quiet. So we'll share everything with everyone to try and get everyone into the picture here. We want everyone to be quiet. We don't want to be the only quiet aeroplanes. And we put this on, and it was a remarkable difference. The aeroplane went up with a Swiss silencer on, but with that on, and there was a big step in the sound. It got much more pleasant.
So this is the top cowling of the Whisper Sling, and you can see that it's been lined just like the lower cowling has been lined with this very expensive acoustic foam.
It's acoustic foam with quite a thick aluminum covering, and the way that works to dampen the acoustic sound going out is it actually creates a dampening force. Then it's insulated by the foam, and then we have the fiberglass too. So it's a very effective acoustic insulation.
Yeah, and the effectiveness of this, by the way, is huge. And this is the kind of thing that could be done on quite a lot of airplanes fairly easily, with approval, of course. But the amount of noise reduction that this provided was very noticeable.
Each one of the elements we did, the exhaust, this, and the propeller, they all played a significant part. But this certainly, it's almost wants to. When we did this test, after doing the exhaust, Matt and I looked at each other and said, "Wow, it was a definite, noticeable difference." So and as you said, it could be done on all aircraft, with approvals and things. So it would be something to look at. I think, a lot of the legacy aeroplanes make a lot of exhaust noise, which is silenceable, again with the correct approvals. And I think a lot of the older engines can benefit from this as well. So, as I said before, we're looking for solutions for aviation, not just for Sling. So armed with that now, we went to the front of the aeroplane, to the propellers, and we started changing different types going from the 3-blade to the 2-blade, 3-blade, 4-blade, and we got some really surprising results there, and we eventually settled on one, the quietest one, which is a 3-blade composite propeller. But Matt, through his great network of people that he's worked with over many years here in the USA, knew of a gentleman that designs propellers for eVTOLs, and he came up with this idea. And you give us your take on this propeller that he's developing for it, because it's really exciting. It's, we've got the exhaust quiet, we've got the engine quiet, the propeller fairly quiet, but we want more, and I think Matt's found a solution. Tell us about it.
The journey into finding the propeller that had the most soothing to the human ear sound was an interesting one, because our first step was to try a 2-bladed prop from our 3-bladed prop, with the notion that the less blades you have, the lower the frequency of the sound that it's going to produce. So we're trying to get our sound to a lower pitch tone. We want our airplanes to sound like Barry White singing to you, because everyone will agree that that's soothing. So we switched to the 2-blade prop, and it definitely made the pitch considerably lower. I don't want to use sound effects, but it went from a ha to a ha. But with a lower pitch sound comes more ability for the longer sound waves to travel and maintain a good punch through the air, and also to travel through walls and buildings. So while we preferred the tone of the 2-bladed prop, there was a noticeable increase in kind of sound pressure. It packed more of a punch, and you could probably hear it a little more in a house near the airport than the 3-bladed prop. So we turned away from the 2-bladed prop. Then we went towards a 4-bladed prop. The main factors that contribute to propeller sound are tip speed, which is pretty much a function of the diameter of the prop. So if you make the diameter smaller, the speed goes down. And then a whole bunch of factors, including propeller twist, the angle of attack at the tips, thickness ratio, how thick the airfoil is on the tip, basically how much lift it's producing on the tip, and a bunch of other factors. So we went for a 4-bladed prop with lower tip speed, thinking that we would have less tip speed, less sound, but actually the sound was very similar and maybe even a little louder, and we came to the realization that the extra blade also makes its own noise. So adding an extra blade adds another source of noise, and then our pitch went way higher. So we went from a 2-blade to a 3-blade to a 4-blade prop. The pitch went from a and we didn't want to go high. So we settled back on a 3-bladed prop, and we found the 3-bladed prop that was the most quiet, but we realized the most quiet and the most smooth, because some of the propellers had like an oscillating tone, which is annoying, like a mosquito. So we went for the smoothest, most pleasing sound. This is our current Whisper prop. It's made in France. It's so far it's been the smoothest, quietest prop out of all of the 8 or 9 props or so that we tested. So this is our Whisper prop right now. There are a few other models that we are trying, plus the custom prop that's being made for us right now, but we're very happy with the tone of this prop.
Carbon fiber, nice high-tech stuff. Great stuff's happening here. This is a wonderful solution.
Yeah, and it's a pretty small diameter prop, which has the low tip speed, pretty small tips, which produce less sound, and it kind of looks a little skinny and twiggy. Part of that also reduces the sound and makes it kind of a bit smoother. So it's kind of a small 3-bladed prop, still tons of performance. We got in touch with our friends who are developing right now a custom prop. We're very happy with the prop that we've got right now, and it completes the Whisper Sling, but our friend is working on a custom non-planar prop that has some very interesting technology in the blades, very interesting shapes that produce more than one tip vortex, which the tip vortices actually cancel each other out a little bit, reducing the noise. So we're very excited to see what's going to come from this prop. Basically, these will be small iterations on an R&D project that's already spelled success for us. When we first started down this path of trying to eliminate or reduce some of the noise from the airplane, we had a lot of people tell us a lot of different things, like, oh, all the noise from the airplane comes from the propeller. But we know that it comes from the exhaust as well. So, and we can hear the exhaust when our airplanes are operating nearby. So after we'd iterated on our Swiss silencer, reduced the engine sound to a point where if you're standing behind the airplane on the ground, you can only hear the propeller and you cannot hear the exhaust, which is pretty remarkable. And then we were like, okay, now we hear the propeller. Now we've got to do something about that. Before we had worked on the Swiss silencer, we actually weren't hearing our propeller. But once we had quietened the exhaust down, then we could hear the propeller again. And when we started looking at dampening the engine compartment, we had a lot of people tell us all of the engine noise comes straight out of the exhaust pipe. We knew, for a fact that that's not the case, because we can hear airplanes with the same engine and the same exhaust, but different engine compartments sounding different. So we know that the engine compartment is an acoustic resonator, and we know that the engine itself, just vibrating with all the revolutions that it has, is producing a sound that's not just the sound that's emitted through the exhaust pipe. And so when we silenced the engine compartment, it proved that to be 100% true, because the sound immediately got quieter, more muffled, less jangly, and smoother. In February 2024, we got invited to the California State Capitol, and we presented our airplane in front of the Capitol building, which was a great honor for us. And we revealed it to some of the state assemblymen and representatives, and it was received incredibly well. We had airports and operators say, how can we have these airplanes at our airport instead of the ones that we have right now? And we had to tell them to pump the brakes, but we've all got to do our bit to make airplane noise quieter. We took our first 2 production version Whisper Slings on noise tests at Santa Monica Airport and Long Beach Airport. They have great noise monitoring systems at those airports. And we did a couple of touch and goes and traffic patterns at those airports. And at both those airports, the result came back, did not register. So we were expecting to get some good low numbers, but we got did not register results. So that was better than we even expected. And of course, we still can iterate more on this, but basically the point that we've gotten to now is we were never going to bust any noise monitors anyway. We were annoying to some people. We've now done a huge amount to make ourselves even not register on noise monitors and maybe have a more soothing tone to the human ear than we did before.
So all in all, yeah, we've got, with these three areas that we've covered, we've got an aeroplane that has got to be actually pleasant sounding, and with a few fine-tuning tips that we can still do, we're going to get an aeroplane that when we stop flying at night, people are going to say, I wish they'd fly all night.
So as we've been on this journey down this path to make our flight training more community compatible, we realized that we only wanted to make this effort if the results that we got were remarkable and significant. We didn't want to spend a year and a bunch of money and a bunch of time and a bunch of collaboration with talented people to come up with something which was just lip service and which basically made almost no difference. We needed to have a significant improvement to the noise problem. We knew when we set out on this project that we weren't going to accept anything less than that. For example, we'd much prefer to have a much shorter silencer hanging on the bottom of the airplane. It's lighter, and we'd much prefer it for many different reasons. But when we tested those, we didn't get the results that we wanted. So we basically didn't compromise. We went for maximum length on the exhaust silencer. It goes all the way under the aircraft and pops up behind the wing. It points upward at the rear to project any residual sound away from the neighborhoods below. And so everything that we did, we wanted to have a significant benefit because otherwise we may as well leave a good airplane alone and just move on. And a 50% decrease in sound level, we are very happy with that.
Necessity is the mother of all invention.
The interesting part about this is, had we not had our backs against the wall by a city that was demanding a big improvement, we may have continued just to defend our airplane as already the quietest airplane on the field. But because we got to such an inflection point here at the city of Torrance, it forced us to really look at this problem in more detail and to really drill into what the real pain was and try to understand it and improve it. And so we are grateful to have been put in that position because out of that, we can now safely say we have the quietest flight training airplane in the world and the quietest flight training fleet in the world. And so we're grateful to have been put in this position because, as Jean said, necessity is the mother of invention. So we're grateful that we got invited to the Capitol. We didn't seek that out, but our efforts have been noticed, and we're grateful to have been invited. And we also just this week presented at the Aviation Noise and Emission Symposium, which is a symposium that's been going on for decades. And we just have been recognized by their group for our efforts, and we hadn't attended the symposium before, and now we realize there's a lot of effort being put into this problem, but there's not a lot of R&D being put into this problem, at the source, in the actual airplanes that are flying all day. So it's an interesting, it's a complex problem. It's got a lot of facets. We're dealing with critical infrastructure. We're dealing with resident needs. We're dealing with federal laws regarding aviation. We're dealing with municipal laws about land use. It's an incredibly complicated intersection of many facets of our society. And there's groups right now trying to make aviation quieter, but we don't see a lot of airplane manufacturers trying to make their airplanes much quieter. So we could all wait for electric airplanes to come try to solve the problem, but we really wanted to do something sooner than that to make our airplanes more compatible with the growing communities around all airports.
It's really great that we got the regulations that work for us, for our type of airplane, that we are connected with the factory, we're able to do these things, and find the solution quite quickly. I mean, it's been quite quick. It's been a lot of hard work, a lot of testing, but I think we're finally coming up with something that's does some justice to the word whisper.
This light sport category that our airplanes fall in is being expanded in the next year or two by the FAA because of its success, so that more airplanes and bigger airplanes can fall into this category and have the ability to iterate, work on innovations that otherwise would be stifled by FAA regulation. So we're excited about the future, and what we've done here, others could do more easily in the not too distant future.
Cool. Cool.
We're really excited to be able to show you guys as much as we can in this medium how the airplane sounds. It's a very tricky thing to capture. Along this journey of R&D that we've been on, we've discovered that it's very hard to capture with a device, with a camera, with a microphone, kind of the sound that you experience when you're standing at an airport, looking up at the sky at an airplane. We've recognized that the technology even will normalize some of the sounds. If you record two sounds, one's loud and one's not as loud, when you export it as a video, it normalizes it. So we are working on capturing the sound to the best of our ability and with the best technology that we can use, so that we can try to relay the sound difference to you in a video format in a way that's as realistic as possible. Now, we have used dB meters, but most of our tests have been totally subjective and using the human ear, because that's what we're going for. We have acquired one of the most advanced spectrum analyzer dB meter devices, and we're going to release videos in the future that show our testing with this device. Solving these problems is still very difficult for most flight training airplanes that require FAA certification for modifications like these. And then, of course, the journey towards unleaded aviation gas, we're almost there, but we're not quite there yet for most flight training airplanes to adopt unleaded gasoline. For us, we are there already, but for the flight training fleet on its whole, there's still some steps to go through. So in short, there's still a lot more to do. It's an ongoing issue. It involves constant education, constant communication, and we still have a long way to go.
We're going to refine the whisper. We're going to refine all the things we've done. We've got this really advanced full spectrum recorder that's going to tell us exactly where we're going with the sound. Stay tuned. We're going to have some exciting news with the whisper getting even quieter and quieter and quieter.
Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed the video. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel, and we really appreciate it. Drop a comment to let us know what you think of the new plane.
Can I get a mic check from both of you guys? Dashing through the snow on a one-horse open sleigh.
And it was a good day.
I'd like to have a hat that looks like that spinner with the prop sticking out of it. that rotates, that turns slowly. Made out of foam or something.
And a silencer like that stuck
sticking out your butt. Doot, 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 doot. Are you going to do the sound effects of the... So, can you measure me after you're done, Scott? I think I'm 7 inches. No. No.
Swiss silencer, which is a silencer developed in Switzerland. They grounded a lot of airplanes, and can we have some silencer for this rain?